Now. Welcome. Let me just fix up our screens a bit. Version 3, I think we're calling this the closing line this week. How are you going, Jonno? The Hills Hoist cast, is it? If people can hear us, can you just put something in the chat like, yeah, you can hear us, just so we know. I'm using a new streaming service this week, so we want to make sure that everyone can hear us, and I am going to stuff things up, so just bear with us. Still, let me just refresh the chat. We've got 17 viewers. So we've got people on the Sport Punter Facebook page and also the YouTube live stream. So just waiting. If you can hear us, just type anything in the YouTube comment box, the live chat on the right-hand side. Let me go to live chat. Can't hear Jonno. Can't hear Jonno. Let's try again. Ooh. Now they can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. I've clicked the wrong button, as was to be expected.
How good was the pre-music coming into it?
Yeah, your son.
It was recorded by my 7-year-old son. I told him to put a bit of a rock music song to it, and he did that. So very good.
It must be in the family as well, because we've got a segment, and Jonno's done a bit of music for that one coming up. Can hear Steve, can't hear Jonno, but let me know if you can hear Jonno now. Much better. All right, perfect. We've got 20 people. We may as well get started. So
let's do it.
I'll do a rundown. What we're going to do first, quickly, daily profit results. And of course, everyone knows how amazing the NBA results have been. We've placed 28 bets. I would say 26 have been on the under. We've won 19 of those. So we've turned over $100 a unit better, has turned over $4,740, made $1,696 profit at 35.8%. But it wouldn't be fair to just have the NBA results. We've got to look at the NRL and AFL, and they have not been performing well. So the AFL, we've had 13 bets since our last video, which was July 20th. So it's about 3 weeks. And we've had $1,785 worth of bets, and we've lost $137. Not so bad at minus 7.7%. NRL, we've had 10 bets. We've only won 3 of them. We've turned over 2,110 and lost 1,524 at minus 72.3%. That brings the total profit for all 3 sports to $33 at 0.4%. Personally, I'm betting 9 times as much on the NBA as the AFL and NRL. So for me, it's been perfect. But some members do bet the same amount. Most members probably would bet the same amount on everything. So they're breaking even. But before that, the NRL has been amazing. So it's given a little bit back. And that NBA start, I was actually reading an article, Jonno, this morning, and it was saying that foul shooting in the NBA and 3-point nook shooting, their percentages are up. And I guess you can expect it with no crowds. Easier to shoot, I would assume. So the free throw shooting is up 3 and a bit percent to 80.6%. The nook shooting is at 42.8%, up from 38.9%. Yet we are betting mostly unders. So what do you think the deal is there? Why are we winning these bets when they're shooting better? It should be. You may
be right about free throwing. Percentages up. There's less pressure from the crowd cheering or booing or whatever else like that. There's probably less adrenaline in the players. Like, you hit a massive pointer and, there's no crowd cheering. So maybe the gameplay is a little bit slower because don't have the same adrenaline or rush as per normal. I don't know. I'll have to look at the stats. That's a good question. That's a good pub talk question, in fact.
Ooh, something we'll be talking about. Okay. The next bit, bets for beers. So every week I place a $100 multi on whatever. And it's all the winnings go towards a big piss up, like for Christmas, if we're allowed to all get together. And 2 weeks ago, I placed this multi, which won. So the total is now over $4,000 on the bar. I'm sure there's going to be some top shelf alcohol, some food, whoever can make it. That'll be fantastic. The first 3 bets in this multi won easily. And the Phoenix-Dallas game was looking terrible. It was going over for all money. And thanks to, I think it was a 23-21 fourth. And we've had quite a few fourth quarters, really low scoring fourth quarters. This one got up. So I still haven't placed my one for this week, which I'll do in a few days. So that's bets for beers. Let's close.
Looking forward to that event, that's for sure.
Yes.
If I can get over the border, I don't know.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Who knows? We've got August, September, October. We've got 4 months. We'll see what happens.
You can set up an iPad and stream it from us. We'll virtually be there.
Worst case, I will just PayPal everyone some money and they can buy themselves a couple of beers, and we'll have a big stream watching a game. Then we're going to talk now. I had a viral tweet. Let's have a look at that one. I put this up a couple of nights ago at like 8:30. This is is it a meme or a meme? I'm so old, I don't know what the language is with kids these days. But this is a common meme, I'm going to say, in the Bitcoin world. So you've got something like understanding Bitcoin and then people buying shitcoin. So I thought, we can use that for sports betting. It's the same sort of idea. And the response just blew me away. I had Darren Rovell, I think his name is. He's got 2 million followers. He retweeted it. In the end, we've got just shy of 2,000 likes on this tweet, 400 retweets and everything. I had to turn my phone off and notifications because I went to bed and it just kept beeping. So the next morning was a surprise. I don't know how people keep up with Twitter. I'll post it every now and again, and it's just such a time suck. But this was a really interesting thing. From this tweet, I think we got 2 new members, Jonno. I got like 500 new followers and everything. But Twitter's very interesting to me, and I know I have to grow my Twitter following with Pump 101 and everything. So I'll eventually try to do more stuff with Twitter. All right, I've also got a upcoming article, and So one of the most popular ones on the Daily 25 website was from Insider Bookmakers. So it was a worker who told me everything of how they track you, what they do if they know you're going to win and everything. So I think TradeMate had put up that article and it got some traction again. So I thought I'd see if I could update it. And I've now had two ex-workers and one current worker say they're happy to share some inside info with me. So that's an article coming up. I'll try to get it out probably next week sometime. And I know that I keep saying I'm going to talk about my journey on this thing. We will get there. I just haven't had time to write it. I've been very lazy. So we will get there with that. All right, let's get on to why most of you are here. And that's 26 at the moment. So you've got a really good chance to win this. And thanks to Topsport, once again, we've got a $100 free bet to give away. And you're going to have to write in the comments here. And it's the first on this game. So Gold Coast Suns and Essendon tonight. Just let us know who's going to win and the winning margin. And it's the closest to the winning margin that's going to win the $100 free bet. The Sport Punter model is on Essendon tonight. So there's a little tip and a clue. But you can choose whoever you want. So let me just refresh. Let's have a look if anyone has put them in. There's also a 20-30 second lag on this. So I'm sure I'll start getting all your picks in. Okay, so that's that one. And now, the newest section that, hold on, let me close that as well. This is our new
Winner,
section.
winner,
Jonno.
dish licker.
Jonno's lovely music. Now, Jonno, let's let you have a word now.
All right, we're winning dish liquor, aren't we? Is that right, Steve? Is that what we're
Well,
doing?
I got chicken dinner on there, but you wanted to do some greyhounds, so we
I
can
did.
call it
Why not?
dish liquor.
Why not? For those who don't know, winner chicken dinner, the phrase that came out of Las Vegas, that it was the smallest amount you could win was $2, and that was enough to buy a chicken dinner. And of course, I've just changed that to winner dish liquor, because dish liquor is well known as the Greyhounds. And I've got a Greyhound tip for you today. It's in Hattrick, which is in New Zealand, race 12, Big Time Dawson. It's coming in at box 6, which isn't ideal, but it's also coming at a bit of price. It started the day at $260. It's coming to about $235. And on Bet365, $210, $220 elsewhere. It is easily the best dog in the race, Hattrick, race 12, number 6, Big Time Dawson. There's the two dogs either side of it in box 5 and 7 are both slow to start off with, so it should blitz past them pretty easily. Also, 5 and 7, the two ones next to it, have been running in a lot worse class races, so it should get a really cut through there. Big Time on track, number 3, I think, is probably the one that's been a bit of a worry for it, I think. And on the outside, Big Time Queen as well. It's the horse number 2. It's been
Horse.
I keep saying horse. I know. Dog number 2. 70 days since it last ran, so you can take that out of it. But interestingly, like with Big Time Dawson, it finished 20 lengths behind its last race, but it got tangled with the leader. It was clearly going around the outside. It was going to finish. It got tangled with the leader. Lost about 15 yards, and then hit its leg on the rail, and it went to the vet and had a bit of bruising on it. But they've waited 15 days, 2 weeks, so it should be fine. The 3 races before that, it finished second by half a length, it won by half a length, and then finished second by half a length. So that is my tip for the day. Big Time Dawson, Hattrick, race 12. Number 6. Can't lose, I don't think, Steve. Can't lose.
Jeez, all that info to pick a favourite. Call your top Waterhouse.
Well, I just want to get some runs on the board first, mate.
Oh, it's coming dead last.
So, no, that's my tip. So get on.
Okay, awesome. So now we've got a question for Jonno. So I received a Twitter question, and I'll put that up on here. And George asked, what does the Sport Punter model actually do? And more generally, what do models do? By that, I mean, is it simulating what happens in a full game, play by play, or is it just working out a probability based on some selected variables? And I just go the model. I don't know how they actually work, so this will be very interesting for me as well.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. If you simulated AFL or something like that, you'd be in a bit of trouble. Some of stuff can go on. But there's a difference between mathematics, statistics, and numbers. Now, one of the things I get really annoyed in an AFL is when they head over to their lead statistician and he says, yes, Stevie J has had 25 kicks and 3 inside 50s. That's not statistics. That's numbers, okay? A statistic is what you do with numbers, and you create something. So the most simple statistic that most people know is the average, okay, or the mean. Mathematics is creating formulas for different outcomes and things like that. And probably one of the most well-known types of mathematical models is in baseball, and that's sabermetrics. Or I think it's called sabermetrics. It's even got its own name for modeling that sport. And what that does, it tries to work out the probability of a pitcher pitching into a batter and striking him out, or him getting a hit to first base or second base or third base. And then depending on if there's someone on first, so you've got all these different variables coming in, and then you can simulate the whole match, because you may have certain probability based on, I don't know, if there's a person on second and there's a pinch hitter come out and stuff like that. And then based on that, you can simulate it like, I don't know, 10,000 times, and then you get a distribution of what the outcome is. But of course, that's a very one-to-one event in baseball, similar to cricket, a bowler and a batsman, and what's the probability of every event happening. Sports like NRL or AFL, soccer, whatever else, it's very hard to do that. Like you've got a player on the wing or like a corner kick, what's the probability of getting a goal, what happens next? So essentially what you do in statistics is you download a lot of data, a hell of a lot of data, which includes team-orientated data, player-orientated data, put them to a big database, and then you create variables and ratings. So your variables might be like something to start off very simple. How's the team gone in the last 5 weeks? The average score in the last 5 weeks, or the average score at that ground, for example. Or and then you have player ratings as well. So you have team-based ratings and player-based ratings. And that's all based on previous performance. So, like, you might have my favourite team, Hawthorn, as a pretty low-rated team, which is probably pretty accurate at the moment. That's based on past performance. But, of course, if they come up against an even lower-ranking team, like Fremantle, even though they got slaughtered against them the other day, you obviously have to adjust for that. And you have to adjust based on who they're playing, like, as well. So if they play against someone really good, then if they're expected to lose by like 30 points and they only lose by 10, then that's probably a good effort from that team. Whereas if another team wins by 40 points and they're expected to win by 70, then maybe that's not as good an effort from that team because they probably should have won by more. And obviously player ratings will change after each event. But then it's also just based on the previous ratings, you've also got to analyse who they are coming up to in the current match. So it may be like, for example, in tennis, for example, is a big one, that a certain player may be really, really good, but they're playing against Federer or someone else, and they always do bad against them. Or perhaps they're playing against a serve volleyer or even like a left-hander, certain players, or they're playing on clay or grass. So that obviously changes how they do it. So it's just a matter of getting lots of variables in there, getting ratings for all of them, and then coming up with predictions and using statistical modelling techniques to actually turn those ratings into probabilities. And that is pretty much a sort of a quick summary of how that works.
Okay.
So
how do you actually get the data?
Well, you download it from the internet. It's the easiest way. I don't know what they used to do before the internet. They used to maybe copy and paste it out of newspapers or something and into an Excel spreadsheet or something. I don't know. Download it from the internet. So you have to. There are reliable sources, obviously. AFL.com or NRL.com. You know, it's just like the actual that sort of thing. There are other websites like LiveScore and other ones that have team-based scores. If you're looking at horse racing or dog racing or anything else like that, there are free websites out there, racingandsports.com, a few others, that you can set up programs to automatically download. Obviously, with racing, there are a lot of free ones, and they may not be 100% accurate most of the time. There are ones you can pay for, and some of them are quite expensive, that have more accurate data and lots more variables as well, and that you can analyze. So you can, for example, in racing, you can analyze whether, like, if the age of the horse makes a difference in certain circumstances, if it was first up. In greyhounds, like what box it was in and whatever else, and obviously in horse racing, for example, the barrier that it's in, and certain tracks the barrier makes a difference, otherwise sometimes it doesn't. Like obviously Flemington, you've got your straights, so the barriers, it still makes a little bit of difference, but nowhere near as much as others. In longer races, I don't think the barrier has as much effect as shorter races, and it depends also where the first turn of the track is. Obviously, if the turn of the track comes in earlier, then the barrier is more important because you want to be on the inside more. So it's a matter of downloading the data from free websites. It's great. So if you're starting up, just download it from free websites. Don't pay for anything big because you're wasting money, and then try and get a model out of that, and then see how you go. But it's also important to download odds as well, because you need to find out, obviously, how you're going based on that. And so there's several different places you can download odds. I like oddsportal.com for sport. We've got Aussie Rules, NRL. It has changing the odds as they change over time. It's pretty hard to download the odds that change over time, but they do have the odds, and they go back like 10 years of every single sport, and so it will show up the finishing odds at certain sort of bookmakers. And if you're looking at racing, dynamic odds is the one to go to. I mean, this holds previous odds and current odds going way back. You can download it by XML, create a program. I think they provide you a Excel sheet that you can use yourself. And so just getting of the data. If you're new, as I said, just get team-based data. Just start off simple, and see what you can do. And see if you can get any predictions, come up with certain variables that you think might be useful.
Okay. So I've heard you get the data, you make a model, you get the odds. Then I've heard the word backtesting all the time. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'll talk about it quickly. This is really important about backtesting, because if you create a model and you make it as good as it can, you're sort of using the data that's current into creating that's current. And so your future won't be exactly the same as what you've currently got. So just say you've got data back to, say, 2010. Obviously, it's different per sport. So you can create a model from like 2010 to 2015, try and make that as good as you can possibly get, and then use a holdout sample for 2016, and don't even include that data in your model, but just include the odds, and then see how you would have gone if you'd used your 2015 model in 2016. And then you can do the same. Just use 2000 to 2016, and then see how you would have gone in 2017. And if you do that like three or 4 years or something like that, or even 6 months, or depending on sport, as I say, you get an idea of how you would have gone. It gives you more confidence in your model, and then you can see how you're going to go in the future. And that's sort of it. So that's an important part of it, backtesting as well. So,
all right, Fantastic. I think that's a pretty good answer. Let's move on to our final segment. And I'm sure I've stuffed up your camera. Yep. So let's make you a little bit bigger here. There we go. This is Pub Talk. Jonno, you forgot to make some music for this one. We'll have some music next week. Got a question. So Alex asked, the old rebound factor when a manager is sacked. So this is the old one that goes, always back a team when they've got a new manager or they've just sacked their last manager. They seem to win, like they pick up after that. You looked at the numbers, so do you want to let us know if this is a real or not real thing?
I think it's a real thing. I definitely think it's a real thing. I don't know if you can see my screen there at all, Steve.
I'll share that for you.
Steve. You might want to pop that up. Yeah. So what we've got here, if you can see these three things here, these are we've got 19 cases for week 1. I'll explain what all this means. This is AFL only. I'll do NRL next time we do a video, and we can see if that happens in there as well. This is for AFL. We've got 19 times since the year 2000, I think it is, since the year 2000, that coaches have been sacked mid-season. And this is the week after they got sacked. This is 2 weeks after, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks after. So obviously there's less in these times, probably because it's the end of the season or something like that. So they only got sacked 3 weeks before the end of the season or something. Now, keep in mind that also when a team sacks their coach, they've lost their previous game. I don't think there's any times in recorded history, mate, I'm happy to be proven wrong, where a coach wins and then gets sacked. And it's usually they've either got thrashed by a really good team or they've lost by a team that most people think they probably should have beaten. Okay? So what we've got here is the average error. And what that means is based on my predictions of how they should have gone, not even including anything about the coach and how they did go. So 1 week, so the coach got sacked. How did they go? They did 10 points better than what I predicted they would go. And that's pretty significant. It's a goal and a half. So the next week after, 1 goal, not as good. And then a little bit the same. And then in 5 weeks after, like almost 4 goals, the difference. Maybe that was the last week of the year for a lot of them, and they're probably thinking about their chip away or something. I don't know. But it's a small sample size, of course. So you can't read too much into it, but I think there definitely is something into it. And if we have a look over here, and I'll just make...
that's what I was
Can you see all that on the screen?
If you had done the odds and how much you would have won. Perfect.
That's what everyone likes to see, okay? That's what everyone likes to see. So here we've got how much you bet, and this was betting to win $1,000, I think it was, and how much profit you would have made if you had bet on that team. So just in 19 occasions, just by betting on the team since the year 2000 that had their coach sacked, no other information, you would have made 12.6% return. So that's pretty good, isn't it? I mean, no one's complaining about that. Even the week after, you notice the average error was negative 6.6, but even the week after, you're still making a tiny little bit. Yep. And then a loss, and then a win, and then a big loss at the end. But I think what happens, and we have to sort of work out what happens when a coach gets sacked. There's 2 things that I think happen. Is that the players blame themselves. They often get together and go, dude, we just got that guy that job. We need to lift our game, and they probably do. They probably lift to a standard. Also, a new coach comes in and it creates a different culture, better atmosphere. There's suddenly like a little lift in that team, perhaps, that they didn't have before. What would be interesting, and I'll do this for next week too, is that what would be interesting, I think Canterbury lost their coach. What would be interesting is that if they won the next week, how would they go in subsequent weeks? If they lost after that first week, do they just sort of fade away? Or if they win the first week, do they do better in the next coming weeks? And I know, for example, the last coach in AFL, there's a North Melbourne coach who won. I think they did pretty good for the rest of the season. I think they won, more than 50% of their games, so they kept him on. And what quite happens I've seen it in AFL, they do really well, and then next year they turn to crap again. But hey, so there we go. So yes, the theory I believe is true. I'm going to call this one out as a true theory that bet on the team who's got a new coach, and I'll test it for NRL next time around.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. But again, 19, it's such a small sample size, but it makes sense as well. And I think that a lot of coaches also lose the squad. So the players just don't want to play for that coach anymore. And the weeks before, they do mean to play badly or to lose the game, so the coach does get sacked. So that could be another factor as well.
You reckon they play on purpose badly?
In the EPL, I think I've seen it many times where the coach just loses the squad, they hate him, and they just don't put any effort in. So that's another interesting point that might be. So we know if a coach gets sacked, I'm going to be placing a bet on the team the next week to win 1,000 each time, and I'll track my own results. We might get up to 100 bets in about 10 years on that. But
It's interesting when you're talking in 2011. They used to have odds about who's the next coach who's going to be sacked, and they used to have odds there. And in 2011, they've banned it now because it's massive in England. Which manager is going to get sacked? And there were stories about like people ringing up the manager and going, "Dude, your odds have come into $1 and this is before they even knew like they were going to get sacked." It's like, some information's obviously being leaked out. But in 2011, the AFL, the odds, I've got the final odds here, that Woolsfold for the West Coast was a $2.50 favourite, Michael Voss at $2.75, and Damien Hardwick at $4. None of those got sacked in 2011. In fact, Neil Craig of Adelaide got sacked, Dean Bailey of Melbourne got sacked, followed by Rodney Eade of Western Bulldogs got sacked. Worsfold and Voss kept going for a couple of years, and Hardwick, as you know, is now a two-time premiership coach. Still the coach of Richmond. So there we go.
Well, I've got one story about the next coach in the EPL. This was when I had more money than sense, probably 2007 or 8. We had a group of all the casino guys in a forum, and there was this one guy who lived in Newcastle. And he had said that, I don't know why your camera keeps stuffing up. He had said that he was in a cab, and he was talking to the cabbie, and the cabbie knew or was the brother of the manager or something like that. And he was saying that he knew who the next manager was going to be. And he was saying it's Sam Allardyce, 100%, blah, blah, blah. On Betfair, Sam Allardyce was $15. So me being an idiot, put £5,000 on it to win £75,000. And his price started to come in. So this story sort of got picked up and everything. I think he went down into about $5, and there were articles about Allardyce, and he's always been linked to every single team in the EPL.
You think about hedging there, mate?
No, I didn't know any of that back then. I was just like, you place the bet, even though I was on Betfair, I was just place the bet, let it run, and I assumed that I had this inside knowledge. Lo and behold, someone else got the job. I can't remember who it was, and I had lost my £5,000 there, which at the time was about 12,500 Aussie. So that was probably one of my stupidest bets. I have since learned. So that's it. We've hit 40 minutes. So we've got 30 minutes in total of chatting. Remember, thanks to Topsport, let us know who's going to win the Gold Coast versus Essendon game and the margin, and you can win a $100 free bet. The last time's winner's already got his money in the account. Next week, we've got a lot of Q&As and pub talk type questions. And I say next week, we do these whenever we get around to it. So we've said a fortnight, a week. They're just random. It's the random show. But we'll try. We'll figure it out. We'll try to be more consistent, but we'll see. We'll let you know. Just follow Twitter, this YouTube channel, actually, Jonno's Facebook, and it will be there. So you'll know a few days in advance when we're going to chat next. But that's it. Thanks for watching. And we will see you, I guess, whenever we decide to do this again.
Thanks, guys. Get on big time Dawson, mate. He's coming to 220. He's been backed in.
We are going to record these bets and see if you beat the closing line and make a profit over time.
Excellent.
All right, guys.
All right, thanks, Steve.
See you later.
See you guys.